The far-left CNN spent much of Tuesday defending mob action against Republicans as a constitutional right and as fearless acts of free speech. On her low-rated afternoon show, CNN's Brooke Baldwin mocked both of her guests as they described the left-wing activists who chased Senator Ted Cruz, RTX, and his wife out of a D.C. restaurant last month as a mob. "Oh, you're not going to use the mob word here," Baldwin moaned after the Daily Caller's Matt Lewis brought up the mob that harassed Cruz and his wife. "A mob is what we saw in Charlottesville, Virginia, 2 Augusts ago. A mob is not what we saw chasing. I'm not saying what they did was right," Baldwin argued. When asked what she would call the people banging on the Supreme Court walls, Baldwin refused to answer. She just mocked her guests by shaking her head and covering her eyes before moving on to another subject. Later, during his Last Place evening show, far-left activist Don Lemon went even further in defending mob action against the political right by framing it as free speech. Again the guest was Lewis, and again the example was of Cruz and his wife being intimidated out of a restaurant. "Don, if they started following you around a restaurant and running you out of places," Lewis said. Lemon interrupted, "But that doesn't mean that people don't get to object. That's your right as an American to object. It's covered in the First Amendment. It's like the first one." After Lewis continued to press his case that there is a difference between free speech and harassing a man and his wife until you are able to bully them into fleeing a public restaurant, Lemon started screaming at Lewis. "Will you let me finish? Matt, please. Let me finish," Lemon shouted. "Bring it on. Mind if I have a drink?" Lewis asked. "In the Constitution, you can protest whenever and wherever you want. It doesn't tell you that you can't do it in a restaurant, that you can't do it on a football field. It doesn't tell you that you can't do it on a cable news. You can do it wherever you want." CNN's history of dismissing, inciting, downplaying, or outright advocating in favor of political violence against Republicans and conservatives is a long and sordid one.